Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knicks family. Welcome to the morning recap and reaction show. The Knicks lost last night to Indiana in Indiana to dig a 1-3 hole, and we are here to talk about it. I'm joined by Jeff Clafter from the Happily Ever Clafter Daily Sports Blog. I was able to read your last article, Jeff. Really, really good. But to the moment, how are you feeling?
Well, just numb. It's almost over, and it stinks, but it's the way it is. I think we have to start coming to grips that this Pacers team may just be better than us. I mean, we can say what we want to about this and that and the other, but, Halliburton was the best player on the court last night, and it wasn't close. Siakam had another great game, and they've been able to find different folks in almost every game. Like, in game 2, it was Siakam who really did it. In game 1, it was Nesmith who killed us. Last night, Mathurin had a great game. In 12 minutes, he outperformed most of our starters, and then you have Halliburton was out of his mind last night. That was one of the best playoff games I've seen a point guard have, period. And like I said, Siakam was good. So I think we can put the narratives to bed that we are this vastly more talented team than Indiana, and it's just a matter of bad coaching. And if you want to say that the coaching wasn't good, I can go with you there too. I don't think that it was, but I think that what shows is we kind of overrate this roster a little bit, and we're getting a beating because we can't dictate the terms of the game. They dictate them to us. And when the other team can dictate the terms and you have to play at their style and their pace. Look, the Knicks shot really well from 3-point range last night. They had, they had a ton of opportunities in that game, but it was just too fast, way too, like you could tell in the middle of the first quarter that they were going to lose the game. They were up 24-23, and I thought, but it was like not even halfway through the first quarter. I'm like, guys, we have to slow this up. And nothing was, I think the signature moment of the game for me happened in the first half. Mm-hmm. The Knicks were up by 1. Jalen Brunson collects the rebound, throws it ahead to McCall Bridges, who's 1-on-3. Bridges decides to take the mid-range jumper fadeaway that he loves to take. That was off last night. Missed it. Pacers went on a 6-0 run to close the half, including 2 free throws because of his decision to go 1-on-3 and shoot quick. And then instead of having the lead at halftime, you're down by 5. And to me, that was a killer sequence in the game. And then you compound that with like a 7-0 run or something like that to start the second half, and it's lights out, man.
Yeah, I think I want to piggyback off of what you said in terms of that decision by Bridges. I just thought that it was just, to use Ajay's phrase, and shout out to him, just low IQ all around. The Knicks had 17 turnovers. I don't know how many steals the Pacers had. There was a few turnovers by the Knicks that I'm sure went down as Pacers steals that, in my opinion, was just unforced turnovers. And Hart, with 5 turnovers, had like 4 of them. You're trying to make a pass to your teammate when it's clear that there's a defender right in front of you. Like, there's no spacing to make that pass. And then they get their fingertip on it. It's a deflection. They go the other way. I'm pretty sure it was registered as a steal. But in my opinion, that's an unforced turnover. Hart just passed it to them. There was another sequence where I think it was McBride got the ball right in the key to just put it up. Wasn't really anybody around him. He goes to pass it out to the three-point line. They stayed home with their shooters. So I think it was Siakam, was just right there, threw it right into his hands. They're going the other way. And again, those are registered as steals, but in my opinion, those are just unforced turnovers where the Knicks are just throwing it into the Pacers' hands. Siakam was like, oh, and just went the other way. They're killing us on points off turnovers. And listen, we talked about this. I felt anyway, the number one thing the Knicks needed to do to win this series was to limit Indiana's transition points. Number one, you still have to guard them in the half court, but you have to limit the fast break transition points. And not only are the Knicks not doing that, they're helping them out by turning the ball over. The Knicks are turning the ball over more than they've turned it over in the regular season, more than they've turned it over in the first two rounds. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. 17 turnovers last night for 22 Pacer points. And we can look at every game in this series. The points off turnovers has been killing us. The fast break points has been killing us. I think it was 20-9 last night. And they had 22 points off turnovers. So all 20 of their fast break points may have actually been off of turnovers. And the Knicks are supposed to have, coming in, you would think they have the advantage in terms of fast break points. The Knicks need to limit that. We have the advantage in terms of offensive rebounds and second chance points. Indiana was last in the league in second chance points in the playoffs, in the regular season and in the first two rounds of the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're beating us. I would have to collect all the stats for all of the games. I'm not saying that they are leading us in offensive rebounds. They didn't last night. But the gap is not that big, is what I'm trying to say. Like, they're doing a good job of mitigating those second chance points. And I think last night we were probably, 16-15 in fast break, second chance, just +1, if I'm not mistaken. If that's the advantage you're supposed to have, and listen, there were many things that went wrong in this game, many things that went wrong in this series. I'm just pointing out one of them. If that's supposed to be an advantage you have, and it just becomes a slight advantage, and the fast break points is their advantage, and they're taking it to another level, it's a game of inches. It's a game of inches. And I think, how many layups did we miss last night? How many? I thought the Knicks only missed 6 free throws. You couldn't tell me that they didn't miss like 8 or 9 free throws. They only missed 6. I think in the fourth quarter they were 7 of 10. But just to me, low IQ play all around, starting with Josh Hart, who I thought was basically playing for the other team. But in all fairness, he was just a -1. I was so surprised to see that after the 5 turns, stepping on the out of bounds line, the backdoor cut for 2. He was just -1. Shows you what I know. But we can go on and on, but that's the main thing I want to talk about. I just didn't think the Knicks were smart last night in their play. And just one other thing real quick to what you said about Halliburton. And I kept saying this last game, and who's stepping up for the Knicks? Who's stepping up for the Knicks? Halliburton stepped up for them. Pascal had a good game. They got a little something from Mathurin. Who is stepping up from the Knicks? I just think the Knicks are just playing within themselves. Who's stepping up? Anyway, that's what else you want to touch on?
Well, I think that just the Pacers eviscerated the double big lineup. Like I think that they figured it out. They make or miss, turnover or not, they were blitzing the ball up the court and we did not have the speed to keep up with it. Like they scored 43 points in the first quarter. Mitch was minus 20 in 19 minutes in this game. They literally ran the guy off the floor, and he did a decent job on the offensive rebounding in the third quarter, but even then it wasn't enough to salvage things for the Knicks. They just are able to hit it into a higher gear. And I don't like to be that guy, but that was a concern of mine when we talked about it going in. Was the speed of the Pacers is so deadly, and they showed it last night. We got killed, and I see a lot of this. Well, where was McBride? But McBride was like minus 14 in 15 minutes himself. So like, yeah, McBride was potentially an answer maybe, but he was awful last night too. So like the people were clamoring for unless you wanted 40 minutes of DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet, and I don't think that's winning us the game either.
Right.
And maybe it is. I mean, both of those guys played well. I don't want that lineup with those two, OG, Hart, and Towns, was probably our best 5-man unit that we had. At least I hadn't looked at any of the numbers. That's just the eye test. Those are the times in the game where I felt like we were, that's the group that battled us back to even in the first half. But even in the fourth quarter, you saw the weaknesses there because, Wright didn't get the ball to Towns, who wasn't even calling for the ball in the fourth quarter. It was really weird. You're the only offensive player on the floor. You've got to command the ball. He's just kind of lost in no man's land. I don't know if he was exhausted or what, but Wright can't create a shot on his own. Neither can Shamet. You end up with a terrible possession that ends in either a shot clock turnover or an air ball out of bounds. I don't know what. And then it goes the other way, and you're in trouble. But it was I don't know. I don't have any answers. I think you just got to tip your cap and say they're better right now, and we got to figure things out, because look, they started the year 10-15. Since that point, they have been one of the best teams in the NBA. The difference in the standings between us and them was one game.
After their poor start.
After their poor start. The difference was one game. I think if it was an 85-game regular season, they probably would have been the 3 seed and we the 4. But so we're not talking about a team that we were 10 games better than in the regular season. No, this is a team that gelled and came together at the right time, and they have they address a lot of questions for an opponent, and they did it against Milwaukee, and they did it against Cleveland. Cleveland couldn't play their 2 bigs either. And if we're not going to get a good performance from Deuce, which we didn't last night, and we're not going to get a good performance from Hart, which we didn't last night, and we're not going to get a good performance from Bridges, and we didn't last night, and even OG, who had his moments, he was like 1 of 7 from 3. It was like, if you could combine the shooting of Bridges and Anunoby last night, you had a good shooter, because Bridges couldn't miss from beyond the arc, and OG couldn't make it from beyond the arc. And inside the arc, OG was fantastic, and Bridges was Ray Charles. So, if you're going to win playoff series, you need to be able to harness the best from your lineups, and we are not doing that. Our best players are not playing better than their best players, and that's a problem, because we need them to be better than them just to be on equal footing.
That was my next point, Jeff. We could talk about Shamet and Wright. We could talk about Precious getting some minutes. We could talk about, Deuce and Mitch, who, to your point, wasn't great. And I was like, why did they play the minutes that they played until I looked at the box score. It comes down to your best players showing up in the playoffs. That's it. Who's the best player? And I'm going to get into Brunson in a minute. That's going to be Brunson, Bridges, OG, and Cat. Everything else that those other guys are doing is in support of that. And those guys, in my opinion, have not consistently showed up for the Knicks in this series. I think they're playing within themselves. We've seen, and I felt like they needed to step up and turn it up, so to speak. And if you want to argue that, listen, it's difficult for them to turn it up because Indiana's defense is just stifling and it's really holding them down and they can't turn up. I mean, if that's what you want to say, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I can't say I agree, but I'm not gonna argue with that. The Knicks, to me, are just playing within themselves instead of somebody stepping up. And now I want to get to Brunson. Brunson had 31 points last night. I'm not going to even talk about his process. I'm not going to talk about his points. There are times in this series, and particularly in last night's game, where we needed the burner. We needed the Brunson burner. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if he's buying into the narratives that he has to be more of a passer. I don't know if he's confused as to when to, be more of a facilitator, when to be more of a scorer. But we have seen throughout the course of this season and his time here, when there are times when he's like, you know what? Nothing's happening right now. It's time for me to go 8 points in a row. The fourth quarter, Bridges gets three-point shots, and it seems like, somebody correct me, like they was running plays for him. And I'm like, whoa, this is usually Brunson's time. And listen, if you look at the box score, he had 31 points. Why are you complaining, Stephanie? But I just feel like there were times when I wanted him to be a bit more aggressive. I felt like he got his 31 points in the flow of the game. Nothing wrong with that. I just felt like there were times when I wanted him to be more aggressive and really put the pressure on Indiana. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Neesmith, who makes it hard for Brunson. But that doesn't stop you from scoring in bunches. It's just harder to do. And we've seen Brunson still score against tough defense. I don't know. For me, he got the 31 points. I wanted even more assertiveness at particular points in the game, particularly in the fourth quarter when the Knicks had got it to, I think, 6, Then it went to 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. I wanted him to be a bit more aggressive. I just thought it was, and I know people might kill me for this. I thought it was more of an equal opportunity offense, when, in my opinion, we needed the burner at that point. And listen, we're going to talk about Tibbs. I don't think it was Tibbs. Well, anyway, we'll get to Tibbs later. Any thoughts on just the Knicks not stepping up, or certain Knicks not stepping up? Thoughts on Brunson last night, and then we'll get into Tibbs.
Well, to your point, Brunson was 0 for 2 with 2 points in the fourth quarter.
Two shots in the fourth quarter. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
that's when your best player has to be at his best, most aggressive self.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if he's not wearing down. I really am. I'm wondering if the having to get the 31, he works so hard to get his points. Like every bucket that he gets is a labor, of love. And so, he.
But Jeff, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
He's getting rest. He's sitting. I said, what? He's sitting a lot of this fourth quarter. I guess this is Tibbs trying to separate Cat and Brunson. So when Brunson comes back in, how long was he sitting on the bench in that fourth quarter? I'm like, okay, he about to turn up when he get back in the game. 2 shots, 0 points. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have. I was as upset with the 3 turnovers as I was the because again, it's the same. All the Nova boys last night, I think they had 11 of our 17 turnovers, and almost all of them seem like, as you said earlier, they're just handing the ball to the other team. Like, what are you doing? Like, we don't wear blue and yellow uniforms. What's going on? Like, it wasn't this extreme pressure or anything. It was just like throwing the ball away. I like lack of basketball IQ, like force feeding the post. Like, I get it, you want to get Cat the ball, but like there's a good entry pass and there's not a good entry pass. And Josh Hart was just like laser beaming it in there, hoping that it got through. And I'm like, I don't know. I just it was a tough game to watch, but 121 points has got to be enough to win the game. Like, you've got to be able to get some stops. Like, we can hem and haw about the offense if we want to, but that game was lost because we literally couldn't get stops. And if you want to pick on JB for his defense, because they hunted him time and time and time again, and he and McCall could not defend the point of the attack. Halliburton got wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. He was in the paint. He was getting rebounds. He was dishing the ball. He was finding shooters. And he even didn't shoot the ball terrible last night. I think it was 5 of 12 from 3. So, normally I'd say if Halliburton's going to shoot the ball 12 times from 3, that's probably benefit to your defense because he's not. But he made 5 of them last night. And he didn't shoot great, but he shot well enough to bury us. And
and he answered every Knicks run.
Yep.
Every time the Knicks tried to do something, Halliburton either hit a shot or passed it to someone else for a shot. He was the best player on the court last night, and it wasn't even close. Brunson with his 31 points, he just looked like one of the guys. He just looked like one of the guys last night. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll come out later that he's hurt. I'm not sure, but he is not looking like himself in this series, and particularly particularly last night. I mean, you wonder, as bad as Mitch and Deuce look statistically anyway, right? One was -20, the other one was -14. Should you have, when we needed stops, went back to them anyway, right? Because plus minus kind of tells you what it was, but it doesn't mean that, they can't turn it around if you put them, if you put them back in the game. I thought maybe Deuce got hurt when the substitution and Shamet came in instead of Deuce. I said, what is he hurt? Like, what's going on? So, in terms to your point about getting stops, should you have put them back anyway? But also to your point about Mitch, they were really neutralizing Mitchell Robinson. So what are you going to put them in for Cat? You can't, to me, to your point, play them together. So you put them back in from Cat. Do you surround Brunson with 4? It's like we have to make a decision. You're gonna surround Brunson with 4 defensive players, or you're gonna surround Cat with 4 defensive players. Maybe you come back in with Brunson and surround him, with defenders. And I would have left Bridges in, OG in, and I would have took Hart out. And I think I still would have brought McBride back, even if he wasn't playing well as far as on-off numbers, plus minuses, I should say, up to that point. I might have still, brought him back. But that being said, yeah, let's talk about Thibodeau. How much of this was? It's always both. It's always both. Even though we may give Thibodeau a bigger piece of the pie most times, it's always both, and it just comes down to what's the percentages. But yeah, I think I probably would have went with a little more defense in the fourth quarter. Anything you've seen you saw from Thibodeau this game you want to comment on?
I don't know. I'm the whole Thibodeau discourse is just like I'm weary of it. But
Yeah.
you know,
No, but just last night.
you know,
Just
but for last night, well, two big lineup didn't work. Like they obviously Carlisle solved that puzzle, and then you know, we didn't really have any other answers. That he tried a lot of different lineup combinations. I mean, it's not like he wasn't. I mean, he used a bunch of different lineups in that game, so it's not like he wasn't trying. And he used some of the lineups that everybody's been calling for, and they failed too. Like so, at a certain point, you know, when do you slap your hands on the floor and say we're going to play some defense and get some stops? Like, you know, take it upon yourselves as a team. I mean, Mitchell Robinson said he wasn't communicating in the first quarter last night. Why not? It's the most important game of our season, and you choose that time to be quiet. I don't understand that. How does this happen? And it's not just on him, but if you're the defensive leader and you're not doing your job, why? Like, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. You know. And I don't know. You know, there are issues, and if he goes, he goes. I mean, I'm not at this point. I'm numb to it. I don't really care anymore. There are other good coaches who can do a good job. I think Thibodeau's been a good coach for us for the most part. You know, the failures in this series, are they on him? Some, but our best players have to play better, you know.
Facts.
And you know, Towns had a decent game. Halliburton had a great game. Siakam had a great game. Brunson had a good game, you know, and that's the difference, you know. And I saw somebody with Mike Malone as a Tibbs clone. You're gonna see, you know, you get Mike Malone in here, he comes from the exact same coaching tree. You're gonna see, you know, yeah, he won a championship, but you're gonna, you know, you're gonna see more of the same. So I don't know. You know, I asked XJ from Hot Hand Theory who he wanted as a coach, and he didn't give me an answer. He said somebody who's good at analytics, but he didn't present any candidates. So, you know, everybody's quick to blame the coach, and then you know, what definitive improvements are out there? I don't know. I'm not saying that there aren't any, but I think Jarrell has it right. Yes, Tibbs gets blame in this, but you know, players got to step up, and the players got to come together and elevate and act like you, you know, act like you care on defense. Like the defense just. The whole game, it was just like the pace is wrong, and we're playing right into their style. And we shot lights out in the first quarter. We were 70% from the field, and we were down by 8. Think about
I don't think the Knicks necessarily want to play slow, though, Jeff. I don't think they want to play a slow, plodding type offense as well. I think you still want to, you know, push the ball up, get into your sets quickly. I think it just depends on, and I don't have this information. How quick were they shooting into the shot clock? Like you got to bring the ball up quick. You can't play keep away. That's not how the Knicks have been playing in in the playoffs. To me, it was three things: dumb turnovers where you have to take care of the ball against this team. 2, your better players not showing up. We could talk about lineups all you want, and I get it, and I agree. Certain lineups do put you at a disadvantage. It makes it difficult. You know, you're basically playing uphill. I totally get that, right? But that doesn't keep you from, that doesn't cause you to turn the ball over. That doesn't cause you to miss layups. If you want to talk about transition points is because you don't have the right lineups in there that can kind of get back on defense and stop the fast break. Yes, that's lineup related. But turnovers aren't. Um, Missing layups aren't. How many layups did the Knicks? And what's going on with OG Anunoby? He cannot catch the ball underneath the basket. He was right there. He threw it to Hart. Thank goodness Hart made the shot. I'm like, you're right there. So missing layups, that's not lineup related. And your best player is not sure. We have no control over who Indiana plays. Right? Who they put in the floor. Your best players have to respond. And in my opinion, Brunson had 31 points. So a lot of people are going to be hands off when it comes to Brunson. I did not think he was aggressive and assertive enough. Now, you can argue he went to the line 69 times. How much more aggressive do you need him to be? I just felt like I needed to see the burner last night. A lot of what happened last night, in my opinion, was self-inflicted. Yeah.
Mathurin shot as many free throws as Brunson did, by the way.
Say that again?
Mathurin shot as many free throws as Brunson did.
He did. Okay. All right.
So
and
it was
Thibodeau,
12. Like, it was a lot. I'm not going to say
right.
that he didn't get to the line a lot. But in fairness, the Pacers are intentionally fouling him every play. So, I mean, he's going to get some of those. They are extraordinarily physical with him. And
they're allowing it. What did the Knicks shoot from the field last night?
46%, I'm wanting to say.
Okay.
46.3%.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't like the Hart minutes. I thought Hart played too many minutes last night. That he was -1 and that Deuce was -14 and Mitch was negative, you couldn't tell. Hart to me seemed like he was playing for the other team at times. I just felt like it was too many minutes. And even if those guys aren't playing well, maybe not Mitch, do you give Deuce another look?
Here's my thing with Deuce, and I thank you, Queen, because I didn't think of this until I heard you talking about it just now. What really worked against this Pacers team, and really the only thing that I've seen work, is when we take the pressure to them, guard them 94 feet, pressure their ball handlers, use Deuce, get up, don't let them get the ball up quick, make them use the whole length of the court, get them into the shot clock. Get them into the front court with 17, 18 seconds left, and then make them start, because they even had some stretches in the fourth quarter. I think they had a stretch where they went like 3 or 4 minutes without a field goal, and the Knicks didn't put we didn't put a dent in their lead really at that time. Maybe the lead was just too big, insurmountable, but whatever. But, so we had some stretches where we were okay. And I think a lot of that is in the time that you've got to do stuff to take them out of their game. And they were in their comfort zone almost all night long. And that's tough. You've got to force them to do stuff that's outside of their comfort zone. And that means you've got to dictate the pace. You've got to control the game on, more than you did. And we fell into the trap, right? We took the cheese and we got hit over the head with the bar, because we were making shots early and we were just like, let's go, track meet, run. And you play right into their hands when you do that. And, and we paid the price.
Yeah, I hear you. I would say I'll watch the game over again and see if pace was the issue more so than turnovers, and them capitalizing on them. But I'm not watching that game over, Jeff. I'm not watching that.
I wouldn't either.
And then also was the timely or not getting timely, untimely turnovers, I should say, or the untimely, not being able to get timely stops. And part of it was the lineup that was on the floor, which was that starting lineup that basically play that basically closed the game. We would bring it to within 7-6. They would come right down and score. We would come back down and score. They would come back. Like, this is not the time to be, to be trading baskets. So, again, wasn't Deuce best game? I would have brought him. I would have brought him back in, and I would have tried as much as possible to limit Hart's minutes. To your point, who are you putting in? Right? Doesn't seem like those that were available on the bench, unless you want to go with Wright or Shamet over Hart. Is that something you want to do? But Hart, I just felt like he was only -1 though. But in my opinion, I just didn't think it was a good Hart game. In my opinion. Yeah. Anything else?
I still can't get over how bad Bridges was from inside the arc last night. Like, those are shots he normally makes, and I think he had 3 chances on like 1 possession in the fourth quarter to cut it to 5 or 4, and I mean was way off on all of them. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. A very frustrating series from him. I don't know if he's not quick enough at the point of attack for the Pacers, but Halliburton cooks him, and he, I don't know. It's just.
I mean, I think it's also about how the Knicks are playing the pick and roll too, because it's not like he's just one-on-one against Halliburton, right? Is how are they defending, that pick and roll? Are they fighting through the screens? Are they Are they switching? Like, what's the scheme to deal with the pick and roll? So I don't think it's all on Bridges, but I do agree. I don't think he's anything close to himself in terms of his ceiling, I should say, both defensively and offensively. You missing open shots, to me, you're not focused. You missing open shots, you're not focused.
And let's not pass up a dunk or a layup to shoot a 12-foot midi. Please, can we stop that? Like, I'm over that. But the Knicks in general, again last night, especially in the fourth quarter, we'd get in the paint and then just dunk the ball. Like, what are we doing? Like, go up with authority. And
there was a lot of hesitation. Around the basket. It was like the Knicks had the yips, or whatever you want to call it. It was just a lot of just not crisp ball movement, crisp execution on the offensive and defensive end. But to your point, Jeff, you score 122 points. That's enough to win the game.
Yeah, you gotta get stops. Can't give up 130.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a question for the off season. I think they can. I just think it's who you put around.
Question for Saturday then, or Friday?
Right.
I mean, the off season's not that far away.
It's not that.
We've got a game on Thursday. If we win that one, we got a game on Saturday. If we win that one, we got a game on Monday. But the off season is a lot closer than we think it is. But
I mean, it's very hard to come back from a 1-3 deficit. Even though 2 of the next 3 are at home, which Knicks team are we getting? Say that again.
We've been terrible at home.
We've been terrible.
We are under 500 in the playoffs at MSG. Like, home court advantage brings me no comfort.
Exactly, and the Knicks are just not playing up to their potential. And I don't think all of it is lineups. I just don't. I think it's fair. I don't think Thibodeau has been at his best, but I don't think all of what we're seeing is lineups.
Well, we'll find out. We've got questions like, is this group sustainable? I don't know. we thought to a person that Jalen Brunson was the best player on the court coming into this series. We haven't really seen that come to fruition in this series.
Correct.
I'm not saying
Correct.
every series,
Correct.
but in this series,
Correct.
Brunson has not been the best player on the floor. And, you know, I thought last night I wrote in my column, so I did something for today that I don't usually do, but I pretty much like stream of consciousness live blogged the game last night. So that's my article for today. But, you know, it seemed like he and Halliburton were in a tobacco spitting contest at one point. And, you know, it was just, okay, I'm going to do this. And then Halliburton come back to the floor. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then, you know, almost like trying to one up each other. And you know, and then during that stretch, actually, Brunson had some really good plays. But, you know, who else is going to step up? Who else are you confident in? And right now, we can't even be confident in our best player, and that's a tough situation.
In crunch time.
Yeah.
And overall, fine, but in these key moments, and when you really need somebody to take over a game, you saw that with Halliburton. Whenever the Knicks got it within 6 or 7, he either hit a deep three or got somebody. They got a basket. They responded. And the Knicks were not able to do that. I still think that lineup, that closing lineup last night, it's just not a lineup that's going to get you stops. That's just not a lineup that's going to get you stops.
And it goes back to our age-old problem with this roster. Our defensive lineups can't score enough points, and our offensive lineups can't get any stops. And so, and if you try a hybrid, you don't ever, you know, you don't get either one. It seems like in some instances. So I don't know, but you know, does if we played DeLon and Landry 30 minutes last night, do we get the win?
I mean, I think all of this talk about lineup is just really letting you know how structurally flawed, in my opinion, this team is. That the lineups have to be just so in order to get them. Like you put this team together, you put the starting lineup together because you thought that this would be a good lineup for the Knicks. And you know, through 51 games, even though they had a negative plus minus, you still won 51 games despite that, 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. Despite that, we did say that this was the year where we're going to see where the Knicks are and what changes need to be said. We said that at the beginning of the season, and we have a lot of data at this point in terms of the changes that need to be made, and everything is on the table. Thibodeau is on the table, whether he's the best coach for this team, whether the Cat Brunson pairing is a good pairing for this team. And if it is, who do you put around them? I don't think Josh Hart is one. I think Josh Hart definitely needs to come off the bench. Is his replacement on this team? Is that Deuce? Is that Mitch? But you also have to keep in mind the playoffs, because there's certain things you could get away with in the regular season that you cannot get away with in the postseason. But as long as you have that versatility on your bench, you're going to be fine. So, for example, if the Knicks decide they want to start Mitch and Cat in the regular season and they get into a particular series where you can't play both of them together, you got to have options off the bench that you can go to if that double big lineup doesn't work, or it's this series is not a double big series. So putting together a team with some sort of versatility is there. I don't think Cam is back. I would like to see DeLon right back. I would like to see him as the backup from Jalen Brunson. He's not a shooter, but he has size. He's switchable. He's good defender. Already we talking about the off season, Jeff. And he can run the team. He can run the team. He's you know, he's solid. But Thibodeau, the players themselves not executing, and to me, you're not going to tell me that's 100% the lineups. And 3, the structure of this team. lineup. They have limitations on this roster, and it needs to be fixed in the offseason around the edges, because I'm not sure what they can do in terms of a major move, but there are things they can do around the edges to help.
We had 2 super chats, Queen.
Oh, we do? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed those totally. The art man, formerly known as Steve, I appreciate you rocking with us. Appreciate the super chat. Always supporting the channel. Good morning. I'm a numbers guy. Oh, this was last. That was from yesterday. But I think this is for today. Kadeem Wright, appreciate you. When JB learns to be a better playmaker more consistently, he would no doubt be the best point guard, if not the best player in the NBA. Shaking my head. That was probably from yesterday too, right?
Yeah, but there were a couple. I know I saw.
Okay, here we go. Jason
Yeah,
Benjamin, appreciate the super chat. Hart and Tibbs' honeymoon phase are definitely over. You couldn't tell from last night, though, Jason Benjamin. And again, maybe they were going strictly by the numbers last night and giving Hart the minutes, right? Because he was -1 over McBride, who was -14, and Mitch, who was negative. Maybe they were going strictly by the numbers. I just thought that, in my opinion, just from the eye test, I just thought it was too many minutes for a Hart. The art man, formerly known as Steve, appreciate you rocking with us this morning. Morning, y'all. Is there a link to join in? I got that late. There is a link to join in, but I have to actually log in for work in 5 minutes. So I'm sorry I got to that super chat late. You're definitely welcome to join us. We're actually going on tonight, and I should be able to take, well, I don't know if I'll be able to take calls tonight because of where I am, but I can drop the link, and those who want to hop on for a minute or two and give your thoughts on this game and on the series, you'll be able to do that tonight. The Knicks play tomorrow, so the weekly show will be tonight. Any last words?
Well, it's down to it. Win or go home, for real. So we'll see if the Knicks can respond. You can't win 3 games at once, right? You just gotta get the next one and then worry about it from there. So I think we can play better. I think we will. Will it be enough? I don't know.
But I think what the Knicks need to do, and I say this with all due respect to Indiana and not taking anything away from them, because they're executing their game plan and the Knicks are not, right? The Knicks can't turn the ball over. The Knicks have to be better in transition. And so I'm not sure if you continue to start this double big lineup, if you do start it, how much you go to it through the game. And I just think you got to rock with Deuce. As long as he's not like turning the ball over and, throwing, shooting air balls or whatever. I just think just for defensive purposes, I think you have to rock with him. So don't turn the ball over. Don't give up 500 fast break points. And listen, the Knicks are not quick in transition. They got that. Their fast break is that they are well-oiled machine. The best way to stop that is to not turn the ball over. That's the best way. Say that again.
And make shots.
Even though sometimes even out of the they get the ball up quickly off of made shots. Yeah. I just, there are things the Knicks can do themselves, regardless of what Indiana does, to win Game 5.
Protect the ball. Trey said it beginning of the series. Turnovers would be the key. He was a prophet,
Yeah, let me just ask you this real quick, because I tend to be the more psychological one. In terms of they're not playing, they're not playing with agency, they're not playing with edge, regardless of what Indiana's doing. You got to find it within yourself to step, to step up. But I agree, Von Allen. I don't think the Knicks are playing with an edge or curiosity. And people can attribute that to the Indiana's defense. I don't. I just feel like that's a part of it. That's a part of it. I just feel like you still have to focus enough to show up despite that. And the best ones do.
No killer instinct with this crew. Haven't had it all season.
Yep. It's not motivation. It's time we face reality. Pacers are better at executing and much better coach. I agree with that. But I also think Carlisle has more options than the Knicks. And you could say that's Tom Thibodeau's fault too, for not growing that bench in the regular season. And bringing Bradley in to mitigate Mitch has been a good move for him. I'm not sure if Mitch is wearing down over the course of this series as well. So how much of it is that? How much of it is what Indiana is doing? He doesn't seem to be as active, on the offensive boards and what have you. And again, it may be what Indiana is doing. Anyway, big picture, the Knicks are in their first year with this particular team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and the front office has a clear picture of what needs to happen in the offseason. But the Knicks have a game tomorrow at Madison Square Garden. I know Jeff is not comfortable. We haven't been great at home, but I expect the Knicks to win tomorrow's the game tomorrow. That is my expectation, and to push it back to Indiana for a game 6. I don't want to hear anything about a gentleman's sweep. What didn't happen to last night needs to happen tomorrow, and I believe it will. Anyway, family, tonight, 9 p.m., the Just Nicking It weekly show. Hope to see you then. Shout out to everybody. I can't shout everybody else out because I got it. I'm late. It's actually 9:01. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to the replay gang. Shout out to the silent listeners, those on Twitter, YouTube. We appreciate you. Until next time.
Sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine.
her.
Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.